Yo, check out my website, www.theclowntimes.net. That's clown spelled with K as you see here. As you see, here are my rants here. I'll be more and more regular in posting rants in the future. You see what I have going on here. Also, you can also get your merch here at www.cafepress.com. Search for the Clown Time Sports. You see here I have sweatshirts, hoodies, baby gear, mugs, t-shirts. So just come on over and grab yourself some merch. Welcome to tonight's Sitting My Ass Out on the Porch edition of the Clown Out Podcast. Please feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check me out there. And just feel free to leave a comment, even if you do not agree with what either I or my guest has to say on this podcast tonight. We probably won't agree with it, but that's not a story for the time. But anyway, just please like, comment, share, and subscribe, because in any event, you'll be glad you did, and I'll be glad you did. All right, speaking of guests, y'all know who this brother is from the yard / HBCU Sports, wraps up about all things HBCU Sports, as well as Sleazy with every Tuesday night on Facebook Live and YouTube. And last but not least, his great work on herosports.com as he writes about all things FCS athletics as it pertains to HBCU sports. Dwayne Nash is back in the house to help me talk to NBA tonight. What's going on, sir?
Man, Scott, I'm doing good. First and foremost, I don't know why people would not agree with what we have to say tonight. It's not like we're coming in with anything contentious. It's just analysts, we're analyzing what has happened. And then
we're just talking sports, yes.
We're just talking sports. And then number two, it just really hit me. Is it possible that the two of us have been working together longer than Shannon and Skip?
You know what? That is might be true, because you know what? We started hanging out on this, man, in 2012 or 13. I think it was 2013.
My God, it has been that long, hasn't it?
So it's 10 years. We've been talking sports on here for 10 years. Like, for those of you who don't know, real quick, we started on the audio side on Blog Talk Radio for many years. And then when I finally got the census to do this video, we started doing video, what's this, 2023. So about more than 4 years ago. I think in 2015. Yeah, so I think it's been, no, I take that back.
No, not that far back. I'm going to say probably 2020, maybe shortly before the pandemic.
Yeah, 2019. Yeah, you're right, because at 2015, we're still doing the audio side. So you're absolutely right. It's about 2019. So during that time, that was our little journey on here, man. So with guests here and mixed and mashed in here and there. But yeah, we've been doing this for a long ass time, a lot longer than Skip and Shannon. But let me just, since we're talking about it, real quick, man, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this first before I'll let you spot. I think that the whole thing with Shannon and Skip falling apart came when Skip had the audacity to assert that Shannon was jealous of Tom Brady, all because he was critical. He being Shannon was critical of Tom Brady's play this past season when Brady didn't play his best.
Yeah.
He's retired for a reason, right? And so he just he was so upset, he took off his glasses. And then Shannon, then Skip said, "Put your glasses back on. Come on, dude." And then, of course, the Damar Hamlin situation when Skip had that stupid ass tweet and Shannon just out of protest and come to the show the following day, and then it came the next day. Skip being stubborn as he is, wouldn't apologize for us, so here we are. So
yeah.
But I would say this: it was a great run, and it was good for Shannon because Shannon's star is just as big, if not bigger, than Skip's. And I think that Skip's going to have a hard time filling that seat after the finals hit, because that's when Shannon was going to leave at the end, right at the conclusion of the finals.
Mm-hmm. And to that point, for someone who's really been watching that show from a distance and following along, basically watching clips and reels and hearing people talk about the show, those are the main two reasons that I heard too, in terms of the things that upset Shannon and why he's walking away. But I will say this about Shannon. He is most definitely learned how to spin things in terms of positive PR
Right.
ever since he started doing analyst / commentary work with CBS on the NFL years ago.
Yep.
Because everything that I've heard in terms of conversations from Shannon has been nothing but exemplary of Skip Bayless. He hasn't come out and been defamatory from the things that I've seen, and he's kept everything as positive as possible, even on his way out. And all that you do is, especially as contentious as people has made the situation to be, all I can do is applaud Shannon for that. Now, if we could somehow get Shannon to attend a SEAC game, that would be wonderful too.
Yeah, Savannah State. He needs to represent, right? So he does. I heard him on the show maybe a few years ago, doing college football season, talking junk about them beat Morehouse. So that was the closest thing I heard him come to that. But that was in passing, and obviously other than the Coach Prime stuff,
Of course,
because Richard his HBCU experience, but that's pretty much about it. So yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see how Skip fills his seat. I don't know. He's gonna have to fill it by committee because I don't know anyone who could do it. The closest person I could think of real quick would be Bonani Jones, but I don't know if Skip wants that smoke.
No. Is Bomani a free agent?
No, he's still with HBO. I don't know. I don't think he's on ESPN anymore. I haven't seen him on ESPN lately, but he still has a show on HBO. So unless he wants to do double, but I don't think Skip wants that smoke. I don't think he wants that smoke.
No, and I don't know if realistically Fox wants that type of analyst.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Say no more. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Because we have to be realistic. It's still Fox.
Right.
The first three letters of that network is, well, even though it's FS1, that F does still stand for Fox.
Right. Yeah. Say less. Exactly. So speaking of sports, let's get into it with the NBA Finals. Yo, I've been betting against the Miami Heat all postseason. And the reason why is because people tend to forget that Miami not only lost his first play against the Atlanta freaking Hawks, they came within 3 minutes of losing the second one to the Chicago Bulls. And then once they got into the tournament, right, they ended up losing Tower Hero in game one against the Bucks. And, it seemed like, and it didn't help. It didn't hurt that, of course, Giannis went down for a few games with his back injury. But still, Miami was on the road. They generally swept the Bucks. And it wasn't even close. They were just a lot better than the Bucks. They beat my Knicks in 6 games. They almost choked away the Eastern Conference Finals to the Boston Celtics, but they kicked that ass at Game 7 on the road in Boston. And now it leads us to this point in the NBA Finals. Denver's the heavy favorites. Denver won game 1 big. Everyone rolled off the Heat, including yours truly. I originally picked the Nuggets in 6. I'm thinking it's going to be a gentleman's sweep at that point. Only for Miami to come out and come back from behind from a 15-point deficit in the second quarter to pull away in the fourth quarter, 111 to 108. And I'm just here shaking my head. I'm like, wow, this team, an eighth seed, doing this in a non-strike year where my Knicks went to the finals as an eighth seed, and I think it's 2099. I think it's
99.
Yeah, I think it's 99. So to see this run, man, it's nothing short of remarkable. But let me get your thoughts on it first before I go into the nitty-gritty details of the stats.
Well, I was just like you, right? That loss to Atlanta, very tragic. And in my opinion, they are probably a DeMar DeRozan daughter away from not making the regular set of the playoffs.
Right.
If DeMar wasn't a responsible parent and thought to himself, hey, what my daughter did in Toronto would probably be helpful in this second play-in game for us to go ahead and advance to the playoffs, maybe we don't see Miami in Denver last night or in game one of either. But they win that game. Another game that they almost lost. Once they won that first game with Milwaukee, I said, okay, let's see how real they are now. When they got to that second, third win, I said to myself, uh-oh.
Yep.
This is, once again, a Pat Riley put-together team coached by a Pat Riley disciple.
Yes, he is.
They were able to beat the ones, yes, within Eric Spoelstra. They beat the 1 seed, like you said. They take out the Knicks, which I thought they would. And it seemed like they kept doing things no one expected them to do.
Right.
Being the 1 seed. Even though they collapsed and lost 3 straight, going to Boston. And I thought whoever lost that game anyway was going to end up coming out as the loser twice in that situation, because you're up 3-1 and you lose in 7 games. Of course,
yeah.
The heat of criticize. If you're Boston and lose game 7 at home in a situation that no other team has been in, then of course you end up in their situation right now. So what do the Miami Heat do? They lose game 1 to Denver. That a series that a lot of people, like you said, expected them to lose. That's all everyone talked about. Whoever comes out of the East is just going to end up getting pummeled by the Denver Nuggets. Right. Miami does something that no one else has done all playoff long, which is get a win in Denver.
Yes, that was huge, dude.
Yes. Chalk that up as another thing that the Miami Heat have done that no one expected them to do. And I thought originally a gentleman's sweep. This series actually goes 6, if not 7. But in order for that to happen, in order for it to go 6 positive Denver, they'll have to steal 1 in Miami, which is not far-fetched. But I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see how the Denver Nuggets handle this loss, losing at home, something that they haven't done all postseason this year.
Yeah, man. And what's more remarkable is how Miami won. First of all, people don't realize that in game 1, Miami just missed a lot of open shots.
Yeah.
And maybe it was because of the tired legs from off of game 7 and adjusted to the altitude of Denver, right? Mm-hmm. So if you look at the stats from Sunday's game, I guess last night's game, they hit 17 to 35 from 3. Mm-hmm. That's almost 50% clip, 48.6%. Sure. That's a big change from game 1, where you could hit the broadside of a barn, right? They were out, even though Miami was out rebounded 38 to 31. They're outshot from the floor 52% to 48%, 48.7%, excuse me. It's just that resilience Miami has. And let's not forget the adjustment that Coach Spo had in inserting Kevin Love into the starting lineup, for one, to bother Jokic, not to shut him down per se, because he had a 10 rebound game, Kevin Love did, and played meaningful minutes. And not only that, but I mentioned shooting earlier, the immortal Gabe Vincent came out and led Miami score with 23 points, including 4 of 6 from 3. But the main thing was Eric Spoelstra's adjustment and turning Jokic from a playmaker facilitator into a scorer. Mm-hmm. It's like, we'll let him get his, but let's shut down everybody else. And that's why I think the game was won outside of the strategy, that is, outside of Duncan Robinson catching fire in the fourth quarter. So, you look at Jokic's stats, there's 41 points, I mentioned 11 boards, but only 4 assists with 5 turnovers. And you look at the other scorers, Jamal Murray was the second leading scorer with only 18 points. So I think shutting Murray down and the rest of the snipers down around Jokic, that's where the game was won. And again, the credit goes to Coach Spoelstra, and can we just agree that Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA right now?
Ooh. Ooh.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
The answer to that is yes, right?
Okay.
Because the first name that popped in my mind, and that's mainly because, of course, his accolades, is,
Sure.
of course, what's your boy out in Golden State? Steve Kerr, right? 4 titles. On paper, you would think so. But if you look at the talent level that Golden State has versus the talent level on paper that the Miami Heat have, and the fact that they have as many undrafted players on that roster that contributes, yes, I'm going Eric Spoelstra easily.
Yeah. And you think about, because speaking of Miami, how many undrafted players does Miami have? They have
I believe
3.
it's 7.
Yeah, 2 of them still alive, and Gabe Vincent and Max Strauss.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're in the NBA Finals tie game apiece, headed back to Miami for Game 3, doing what another team did not do in the playoffs so far is winning Denver.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a series now, and I don't know, dude. If Denver loses Game 3, all I have to say is, uh-oh. Because you don't want to go down to this Miami Heat team with Pat Riley and them in charge. You don't want that.
No, you don't. And you talk about a lot of other firsts. This is the first loss in Denver for the Nuggets dating back to March 30th. This is the first, of course, we already talked about this, the first time that they lost in the playoffs at home in 10 games. This is the first time that an 8th seed in the finals has won a game. Because help me with my memory, did the Knicks win a game? No, they did, because they took that series to 7th, right?
You're
Against the Spurs in '99.
No, it was only 5. It was a German sweep.
It was only 5?
Yeah,
okay, so all right, so that's not the first then. But my God. Yeah. And they do not look afraid. And to your point about the eliminating Jokic from being a facilitator, being able to get assists, shutting down the other players. Jeff Green had 9 points.
Yeah.
Jeff Green should not be that productive. I'm not squatting.
That's a Georgetown guy.
Not only is it a Georgetown guy, he's a Northwestern high school guy, which is technically the closest high school to my house right now. Mm-hmm. If you want to be realistic, even though it is over the line over in PG County. So yeah, he's a local guy for me, but Jeff Green is the 5th leading scorer in your team with 9. He only had 9 less points than Jamal Murray. And with Murray being held to under 20, that's the 5th time this playoff season where he's been held under 20. And the Nuggets are 3-2 when that happens. So yeah, not only does he need to score 20, someone else needs to be a lot more productive on that team in order for them to win a championship. But you brought up Strauss and Robinson. Strauss scoring 12 points in the first stanza, Robinson scoring 10 in the fourth.
Right.
The Heat did everything right in the fourth quarter last night and holding, because of course that defensive stand that they made throughout the entire fourth quarter. There was a stretch there, Scott, of about 9 minutes from the start of the fourth quarter to about 3.5, where the Denver Nuggets were held to 8 field goal attempts. They shot 50%, but they only made 4 buckets, right? Okay. And had as many turnovers during that entire stretch. That's when Miami was able to make that run, turn it around, regain the lead, and extend their lead out, which was able to sustain them towards the end of the game. Denver cannot have another stretch like that. And it took me a moment to realize what Denver's coach was talking about when he felt as though that they weren't playing hard enough. Yeah, you can't, in that stretch, only put up 8 shots when in that same time frame, the Miami Heat shot 10 for 12.
Right. Can't do that.
Can't do it.
Can't do it. So let me just, before we transition, do you still? I don't know who'd you pick before the final started. Who'd you pick?
My pick was Miami. No,
Oh
I'm sorry.
wow.
I'm sorry. No, I take that back. My pick was Denver.
Okay.
My pick is still Denver.
Okay. Denver. How many games do you have?
I had them 5. Now I
Okay.
have them 6.
Okay.
Because I was anticipating Miami at least being competitive once at home. Well, I shouldn't say
Right.
competitive only once. I thought as though that they would be competitive throughout the series. Game 1 was most definitely an anomaly. With Jimmy Butler only putting up 13 points, even though he still had like 7 boards and 8 assists in that game. The thing is, Denver can't keep hoping that Jimmy Butler won't have a big game because it's coming. And the chances of it coming in game 3 is highly likely. This is the second time in this series where they've held Jimmy under 25. I don't think that happens again in game 3.
Oh wow, interesting.
I don't think so.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to. But if that's the case, I fear for Denver because if he scores 25, chances are the Heat are winning game 3.
I picked Denver in 6 before the series started because I have too much respect for Miami and Eric Spoelstra, playoff Jimmy, and Pat Riley. I'll say this though: I did not think Miami was going to get a game in Denver. I'll be real about that.
No.
And seeing that, I'm still not wavering. I think it probably would go 7, if anything, but I still have Denver in 6. But I'll tell you what, man, I think Denver's shell-shocked. I think they weren't ready for Coach Spoelstra's adjustment with Kevin Love in the solid lineup and turning Jokic to a scorer rather than a playmaker. But I tell you what, if they if they get more, they still get production from Gabe Vincent and Max Strauss, with Duncan Robinson, and if we have a Tyler Hero sighting in Game 3, coming off the bench, he was the leading scorer during the regular season, y'all. Just people tend to forget that. I don't know, and don't let Miami win Game 3 with all that firepower. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. If Miami wins Game 3, it's going to go 7. It's going to go 7. I'll keep my pick with Denver at 7. But if Miami wins games 3 and 4 in Miami, look out. Look out. That's all I gotta say. Look out. We may see history being made if Miami wins games 3 and 4 at home. So I'm just saying, look out, Dwayne. Look out, bro.
Well, I'll say this. To kind of respond to one of the things you just said. I think we need to go ahead and start looking at Gabe Vincent as being the real deal in these playoffs. So I'm not necessarily looking at what he's been doing so far as a surprise.
Right.
I'm anticipating him to give me at least 18 a game now, even though he's been doing a lot better than that. If he continues to do so, and if Bam can be consistent a lot more, and if Jimmy can somehow play just the way that he's looked during the Eastern Conference playoffs,
yeah,
this might be Miami's series to win. The thing is, though, we haven't necessarily had to see the Denver Nuggets have to make a lot of adjustments.
Right.
They lost to Phoenix in Phoenix. Okay. The T-Wolves caught them once. Okay. I look at this loss to the Denver Nuggets. We already know why it's different because they did something that no one else has done, which is win in Denver. Right. I just want to see, of course, what type of adjustments they make for Game 3, and if they can't seem to find an answer where everyone else is productive in Denver, for the Nuggets, then it's going to be a long series for them.
I agree. We're going to see this. We got a series now, so we'll definitely see about that. All right, I'm going to give a quick shout out to my sponsor right quick for BetUs.com. So listen up, sports bettors. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUs.com, is back for the 20th year NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus up to 200%, BetUS offers their members the opportunity to cash in all your favorite sports, including NFL, UFC, and MLB. You're looking for live in-game betting with incredible odds. With daily odds, boosters, props, and parlays, they have them. How about fast payouts and exceptional one-on-one customer service? They have that too. So log into betus.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. Use the promo code TKT for the climb times as well. BetUS.com where the game begins. All right, bro. Let's cap this podcast with one name that's been in the news a lot, more so than he should. Ja Morant. Now, I don't know if you heard Adam Silver the other day say that he and his team, quote, found some more evidence, more information about Ja Morant's unfortunate activity with gunplay. And is he committing crimes? No. But there's a thing called code of conduct with the NBA and with the Memphis Grizzlies. So when Adam Silver said that he and the ML and the NBA Players Association agreed that they wouldn't drop any news on his suspension during the NBA Finals because it's be unfair to the participants, that lets me know one thing. Ja Morant's going to get his ass suspended for a very long time. And I wouldn't be shocked that he's gone the whole damn season for Adam Silver to say that. Because remember, this young dude lied to Adam Silver's face when he said that he's changed. Because that second video was on Instagram on his friend's Instagram's page. And I get to his friends in a minute, but I think we're looking at a big suspension for Ja Morant. It's going to be at least half the season. And like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if it's the whole damn season.
To that point, the suspension that he's about to get, I believe it's the suspension he should have received first time.
Thank you.
Or I'll say it's a suspension I expected him to get the first time.
Right.
And let me go back. Let me go to this first before I address my feelings on Ja.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who, ever since the first incident, said that it's unfair that Ja is being treated this way because there have been other players in the league that have most notably been seen with guns before. Mm-hmm. Even if it's for hunting, they've still been seen with weapons. The difference is this. Ja Morant is probably the youngest American face of the league,
right, that
the league currently has. And if anything, he's kind of like the last hope, if you think about it. Mm-hmm. If you're asking me if Jamal Murray, even though he is older, and Jason Tatum, if they can continue to play on the level that they're playing, they'll step up too. But this dude is the face of the league. And as for players that are been in the league for 5 years or less, he's one of those few remaining American players that are that good. Right. It'll be in his best interest to stay out of trouble. And that's the thing that's different between Ja and those other players that we discussed. Mm-hmm. Those dudes ain't Ja Morant good.
Right. Right. Thank you.
With that said,
yeah.
With Ja Morant being Ja Morant good, I'm gonna need you to stay away from as much dumb stuff as possible. I don't care what it is.
Right.
Oh my God, the guns. And anything dumb that could derail your career. I'm not even talking. Well, you know what? No, I'll talk to money. Anything that can take you away from your money.
Right. Right.
It's just plain ignorant. And why you feel as though that you have to be a tough guy when you really made it now is above me. Especially when you're in a situation where you can afford to have security to be your tough guy. Yes. Why do you have to be the tough guy, dog? Why?
And here's what I don't understand, to your point. And I'm glad you said it. We say Ja Morant acting like a tough guy. Ja Morant comes from a two-family home. two-parent home, rather, in South Carolina. Went to
Mm-hmm.
private school. Grew up at least upper middle. He probably is upper middle class growing up. He's at least middle class growing up. He does not know about that damn life. He's not. That's not who he is.
That's not who he
That's
is.
not who he is. I mean, I saw a video someone made of him to 9 Mile. I mean, to 8 Mile. I'm sorry. When Eminem was cracking on Anthony Mackie's character, it said, "You against it? Your real name is Clarence," something like that. You went to private school, that whole scene using John Morant's face. But the point being is John Morant needs to stop.
Yeah.
He just needs to stop because that's not who he is. He's not a thug. He didn't grow up in the hood. He has two stable families as far as the parents are concerned. And I'll get to the parents in a minute because they're culpable too. But the point is that that's not him. That's not who he is. And he's risking pissing away a $220 million contract that's not scheduled to kick in until this summer. And he's already pissed away some endorsements. Already pissed away Powerade. And even though Nike's staying by him, even though his shoes sold out, signature shoes sold out, they're on the fence about him now. So you're talking about the possibility of losing two major endorsements and having suffering a suspension that may or may not be paid. He may be suspended without pay. I don't know the severity of that, but remember, he lied to Adam Silver's face.
Yeah.
If this is David Stern, he wouldn't have got that was suspicion that whatever he's going to, I was about to drop with him, that would have been David Stern in spades. Now he would have been suspended. He would have been suspended, unpaid, gonzo, until I feel you could come back. That would be David Stern's, rest in peace to David Stern's punishment. But man, getting back to the parents, I don't know if you heard about what's been happening, like to that point, especially with that altercation with that kid in Foot Locker. Apparently, his mama got offended by what the kid did at work at Foot Locker, so she called Ja to come to the mall to handle it. So, like I said, that's what mom knows better than that. Mom is our age.
Yeah,
she should know better than that. And two, as much as I love T. Morant, his daddy, being a father to him, going to games, all his games, I love that. But I need for T to be dad instead of his best friend, his homie. Be dad to him. He did a good job of raising him. There was some video of him making him, or not video, but reports of him when he was young, when John Morant was much younger, T making him go outside and play ball and work on his game and keeping him focused. So he's a great dad, at least, but I need for him to start being his dad and stop being his homie. Yeah. Because I think he needs the much needed direction from his pops. But that's what happens when if you, I don't know if his mom and dad are on their son's payroll, but that's what happens. Because I know they're living either with him or beside him in Memphis. And if that's the case, it's kind of hard for Ja to say no, for his parents to tell him no and start being parents to him, since if they are on his payroll, so to speak. But I'm just, something needs to happen, because I'm afraid this young brother is going to piss away a promising career by being something that he's not.
Yeah. I will say this, though. From my understanding, I don't know how true it is, though, but from my understanding, there are a lot of haters in Memphis, though. Now, I'm not saying this because I know
this. It's fucking dangerous in Memphis, too. I mean.
Yeah. This is coming from someone I know that grew up in Memphis, that there's a lot of haters in Memphis. So there's probably a lot of attention his way. So I understand, the thought process, potential thought process that he may be dealing with, that I need to protect myself from what could be coming. But again, you got enough people, you got enough money where you can hire people to handle that for you. This shouldn't be a firsthand situation that you need to deal with.
Right.
Even if it's a situation where, Moms is disrespected and Moms decides that she needs to go out of pocket and call John and say, hey, this needs to be handled. John need to get on the phone with one of his boys and let his boys handle that.
Right. Right.
Shouldn't be you, dog.
Right.
It shouldn't be one of the 10 best players in the NBA looking to get into a fight. This ain't 84.
Right.
This ain't 1984 when you got to go out there and do. Nah, bruh. Nah. As much as they hate old school players, you're starting to do old school stuff right now by interjecting yourself in the situations you don't even need to be.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm hoping that whatever is levied down to John Morant at this point, he learns a lesson. Because if he don't, that third strike won't be beneficial to him.
No,
it won't. And it might be something that'll end up eventually ending his career. He'll be playing down in Puerto Rico, down there with Dwight Howard wearing shoes from China. Dog, you're one more dumb video away from being Dwight Howard.
And
or
you know what?
Marbury.
Yeah, ask him. And speaking of the video, those are his friends. Right. Or Gilbert Arenas, yeah. And Gilbert Arenas has some great advice for John Morant. For those of you, check out Gil's Arena on YouTube. Shout out to Gilbert Arenas and his crew. He and his crew had some sound advice for John Morant. And I advise John Morant to listen to it and to take it from guys who's been there and done it.
Who's been there and done it and publicly was ridiculed for it.
Thank you. Thank you. He'd be wise to listen to that. But let me say this about his friends. Those aren't his friends. Those aren't his real friends. Because if they were his real friends and they were on his payroll, they would be like, yo, what are you doing, bro? Pull them aside and say, you're going to, at least for their sake, so they can stay on the money, on the gravy train. But not to, but just to put him aside and say, hey, dude, you about to piss away a career and a huge contract. Instead of putting him on live, on Instagram Live, showing him with his guns. Those aren't his friends. Those are not his friends that are doing that to him. So, and to your point about Memphis being full of haters, I mentioned earlier that Memphis is one of the most dangerous cities in the country as far as crime statistics. And two, he's going to run afoul. He's going to mess around. He and his friends are going to mess around and run across
the wrong one.
Real gangsters. The wrong one. Real gangsters. Because they say real gangsters move in what? Silence. And by the time they see him coming, it's usually too late.
It'll probably be too late. And these young boys do not care. Scott, I don't know if you knew. I forget the name of the show. Mm-hmm. But it was basically chronicling, especially these young rappers that have been murdered in the past 5 to 10 years and how they've died and the background on why they might have died. In a lot of instances, of course, it's jealousy. There was one young rapper, I forget this young man's name, I think it's like Mo3 or something like that, out of Dallas. Scott, they gunned him down in the middle of the highway, in the middle of the day.
Wow.
They jumped out of their cars, stopped traffic on a highway, and ran up on them. Wow. These young boys don't care. They don't. And I don't want. What I would hate to see is Ja losing his career because he wants to play around with this stuff. The thing I would hate more than that is for him to lose his life for playing around with this stuff. Yeah. And you talk about his boys not being his boys, even being selfish in that instance. They should be like, dog, what you doing? You messing up our money.
That's right. The gravy train. Keep that gravy train going at the very least.
You messing up our money.
Right. Right.
Yo, I'm gonna need you to calm down. And I'm
Right.
gonna need you to be smarter than recording him whenever he's doing something.
That's crazy to me. That's crazy. That's why they're not his friends.
Yeah,
Because again, you mentioned it, and I mentioned it. Memphis is a dangerous city,
yeah.
full of haters. I mean, become full of haters, but it's a very dangerous city, and he's going to. I mean, it's going to happen if he keeps going with this shit, this gunplay shit. They've been something that let me tell you something. Those quote unquote haters in Memphis and everywhere else, they know he's not a gangster. They know he didn't grow up like
They
that.
know he
They
ain't no
know that.
gangster.
So it's only going to take one time. One of those so-called haters is going to test him. It's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. It's the inevitable. If he keeps this up, and if his so-called boys keep up this stupidity around him, he's going to get tested. He's going to get tested. I'm telling you right now, that's the inevitable. That's the path he's headed down. And if T and his wife don't get their son together, corral him, if you know the team can only do but so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's on Josh. It's all on Josh at this point. I mean, Josh, what, 23? I don't think he's 23, right?
I'm thinking he might be 23.
Yeah.
He's not too far off my son's age right now,
Okay.
who just turned 23 last week. So yeah.
Again, I just hope and pray that someone gets his young brother and just have a come to Jesus moment to something, because he's too young. He's not mature enough. He's not mature enough to handle this success. He's not mature enough to behave like he has some sense. Because, like I said, and like you said, in being in Memphis, especially, he's going to get tested.
Yeah.
This is going to be the inevitable. So, whatever Adam Silver hands down, I hope it's going to be heavy, because it looks like taking away basketball from him, perhaps without pay, is probably going to get his attention at this point. So, yeah.
Yeah. John will turn 24 in August.
Okay.
So yeah, he is older than my son. So he's
okay.
he's a year older.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when we look at a lot of our young, talented brothers out there, 24, 25, 26 is normally when it happens.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that, this will be the last time. And I really need those around him to be as much as I don't want to see John Morant lose a lot of time, because of course he's a talented player.
Of course.
I believe that a suspension needs to be harsh enough to where his friends and his family feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're capable of pulling them to the side and saying, "Hey, this can't happen no more.
Can't do this shit anymore." Right.
No.
Exactly.
Mm-mm.
All right, bro. Tell the people out there where they can find you and your great work, man.
As always, you can find me on social media, all formats, at the Yard HBCU. There's some changes are coming.
All right.
So when it's time to finally announce it, I will. And more than likely, I will be back with Hero Sports coming up this fall. And that means previews will start coming in July for HBCUs. So look out for that within the next month. And speaking of HBCU stuff, I had a wonderful time this past weekend in Baltimore at the HBCU, the first ever HBCU Sports Summit.
Okay.
I want to thank Ro Rochester and her camp over at the HBCU Sports Summit for allowing me to have the opportunity to check them out this weekend. We'll look forward to the next one in 2024. Will most definitely do my best to help promote that event, because it was such a wonderful event the first time around. I can only expect what could happen in year 2. So yeah, check me out as always. The Yard HBCU. It's that time again. Football season is right around the corner, and I will have as much extensive coverage on the 4 major conferences, and then of course the CAA and OVC as I can. for this upcoming year as we get ready for that.
Nice. All right, y'all. Please check this brother's workout. It's great work, and especially during college football season when he gets to the HBCU side of things. He's heavier in that. He's great in that. So please check him out there. And as for me, please continue to like, comment, share, subscribe. Even if you disagree with what we had to say tonight, holler at us. Subscribe, share, like all that good stuff. Because either way, you be glad you did, and I'll be glad you did. So until next time. Enjoy the rest of the NBA Finals this week. Maybe it'll be more surprises in store. But anyway, y'all take care. All the good stuff. Peace out.